Listen closely. If you want to make a woman miss you badly, you've been doing it wrong this whole time. Forget all the advice about being overly available, chasing after her, or trying to be nice in the hope she'll come around. Here's the brutal truth. Women are not attracted to men who act desperate. They're attracted to men who know their worth and make them feel the absence, not the presence. You can't make her miss you by being a constant fixture in her life. You can't make her miss you by begging for her attention or trying to be everything she thinks she wants. It's the opposite of what you think. When you start to pull back, play it cool, and focus on your own life and growth, she will be drawn to you like a magnet. That's where Stoicism and dark psychology come into play. In this video, I'm going to show you the methods that really work. 1. Stop being available. 24/7, she'll value your time when it's scarce. This is one of the most powerful tactics in getting someone to miss you. Stop being so readily available. When you're always there, responding to her messages the moment they come through, constantly checking in on her, and showing up whenever she needs something, you're sending the message that you have no other priorities. It's easy for her to take your time for granted, but the moment you pull back, she'll start to realize that you're not always at her disposal. When you're always available, you're not showing your worth. You're teaching her that she doesn't have to put any effort into winning your attention. But when you start focusing on your own life, your passions, your friends, and your goals, your time becomes a scarce resource. Scarcity breeds value. When she knows you're not always there waiting for her, she'll begin to appreciate your presence more. The key is balance. You don't want to disappear completely, but you also don't want to be the guy who drops everything for her at every turn. It's about creating a sense of mystery and excitement. It's like when you're playing a game. If you always show your cards, there's nothing left to surprise her with. But when you hold back, she starts to wonder, what's he up to? Why isn't he texting me as much? It's that curiosity that makes her miss you. For instance, imagine you've been texting back and forth all day and then suddenly you stop. She's used to you replying quickly, so when you don't, she's left wondering why. She might think, is he busy? Or did I do something wrong? And before long, she starts to think about you more. The next time you text, she's not just responding, she's waiting for your message, eager for that connection again. By making your time feel more valuable, you're not only encouraging her to miss you, but you're also establishing boundaries. You're showing her that you respect your own time. And when she sees that, she's more likely to respect you in return. 2. Don't chase her. Let her come to you by showing you have options. One of the biggest mistakes men make is chasing a woman who isn't showing the same level of interest. When you chase her, you're essentially telling her that you have nothing better to do, no other women vying for your attention, and no real sense of self-respect. This desperation is a massive turnoff. Women can sense when a man is too eager to please, and this makes them less attracted to him. Instead of chasing her, show her that you have other options. This doesn't mean you have to date multiple women at once, but it's about having a life outside of her. Show her that you're a man who is busy, focused on his goals, and not willing to drop everything for someone who doesn't equally value his time. When you do this, you create an aura of mystery and intrigue around you. You become the one that she has to work to earn. The power is in the balance. Don't act like you're disinterested in her, but don't make her the center of your universe either. When she sees that you're not chasing her, she'll start to feel the urge to come after you. This dynamic shifts the power from her to you. Suddenly, she's wondering what you're doing when you're not available, who you're spending time with, and why you're not texting her back right away. If you're always the one initiating conversations, always the one making plans, and always the one chasing after her, you're giving her too much control. But when you allow her to pursue you, by not constantly being available, by living your own life, and by giving her space, she starts to feel the absence of your attention. And trust me, that absence will drive her crazy. Imagine she texts you and you take a little longer to reply. She's used to getting immediate responses, and suddenly, she's wondering why you're not as available. The next time you do reply, she'll likely be more engaged, more interested, and more eager to connect. She'll start to realize that she has to put in the effort now if she wants your time and attention, and that's exactly when she begins to come to you. 3. Create emotional distance. Make her feel your absence to make her want you more. Creating emotional distance is one of the most powerful tactics to make her miss you and become more emotionally invested. It's not about playing games. It's about giving her the space to recognize your value. When you're always available, always checking in, and always overly attentive, it can make her take you for granted. The key here is to create a balance, a dynamic where you're not constantly on her radar, but you're still there when needed. Women are wired to appreciate what they can't easily have, and the absence of emotional availability can trigger that very feeling. When you step back emotionally, it forces her to evaluate what she might be missing. Your value isn't just in your presence, it's also in your absence. When she's used to having you around all the time, your sudden shift away will make her question where you are and what you're doing. That curiosity can quickly transform into longing. It's important to note that emotional distance doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. It's about setting boundaries. If she knows you have a life outside of her, with your own goals and interests, it'll make her wonder what she's missing when you're not around. It also shows her that you're not desperate for her attention, which in turn makes her chase you more. When you create emotional space, you stop acting like you're always waiting for her, which shifts the power dynamic. She'll notice that you're not as easily accessible, and it'll make her desire to spend time with you that much stronger. But remember, it's not about being manipulative, it's about finding balance. If you're always giving, always available, and never leaving room for her to miss you, you won't see the same level of interest or effort in return. By creating emotional distance, you're not pulling away because you've lost interest. You're making her realize how much she values your presence. When you pull back just enough, she'll be drawn toward you, seeking the connection that she once took for granted. 4. Master the art of mystery. Don't reveal everything. Leave her wanting more. Let's face it, most men make the mistake of oversharing too soon. They spill all their secrets, their thoughts, and their emotions right away, thinking it will build a deeper connection. But what they don't realize is that revealing everything too quickly makes you predictable. And when you're predictable, you become less interesting. The key to making a woman miss you isn't to reveal every single part of yourself at once. It's to leave her wanting more. The art of mystery is about withholding just enough so that she's constantly curious about you. It's not about playing games or being dishonest. It's about showing her there's more to you than she can immediately see. When you keep her intrigued, she'll want to learn more. Think of yourself as a puzzle that she has to figure out. The less you reveal, the more she will be drawn in, trying to solve the mystery. Now, let me give you a little tough love. If you're the type of guy who shares everything right away, who has no boundaries, you're making a big mistake. You've got to wake up. The moment you start becoming an open book, you lose the allure that makes you attractive. Women, like men, enjoy the chase. If you put everything out there from the start, there's nothing left to discover. You've killed the mystery, and with it, a lot of your charm. Instead, take time with your conversations. Don't be an open book. Let her discover new layers of who you are over time. When you don't overshare, you leave room for anticipation. It's this space of not knowing everything about you that keeps her emotionally invested. If you give her too much too fast, you've taken away the excitement of learning about you and replaced it with boredom. So, step up your game. Stop laying your life out there for anyone to see. Let her see glimpses of who you are and make her work to get to know you. This mystery isn't just attractive, it keeps her interested, keeps her coming back, and ultimately makes her miss you more. When you master this, you'll understand the power of leaving her wanting more. 5. Focus on yourself first. When you stop making her your priority, she'll prioritize you. Here's the harsh truth. When you put a woman at the center of your world, you lose all your value. Sounds controversial, right? But think about it. When you're always available, constantly chasing her, she'll take you for granted. You're no longer a challenge, and you stop being the kind of man she desires. It's counterintuitive, but when you stop making her your priority, that's when she'll start prioritizing you. Men who make the mistake of focusing all their energy on a woman often end up in the friend zone or a relationship where they feel unappreciated. Why? Because they're no longer the strong, independent man she was initially attracted to. Instead, they become a servant to her needs, always at her beck and call. And in doing this, you lose respect in her eyes. Now, I'm going to give you some real advice. If you want her to value you, you need to start focusing on yourself. Work on your goals, your career, your health, and your passions. When you invest time into improving yourself, you automatically increase your worth. You stop being a man who's always at her disposal, and you become someone who's valuable, someone she doesn't want to lose. When you have your own life, you're not chasing her attention anymore. She starts chasing you. It's time to wake up, fellas. Stop living for her approval. The more you prioritize your own life, the more she'll respect you. It's not about being selfish. It's about having boundaries and being a strong individual who isn't solely focused on her. Women are attracted to men who have their own goals, ambitions, and interests. Men who don't make them the center of their universe. When you shift your focus back to yourself, something incredible happens. She starts valuing you more. She sees that you're not just sitting around waiting for her attention. She sees that you have your own life and that you don't need her to complete you. This makes her realize how lucky she is to have you in her life. Suddenly, she'll start prioritizing you because she sees you as someone worth investing in. So, stop chasing her and start living your own life. Focus on yourself first and watch as she starts to prioritize you. 6. Use the power of silence. Sometimes saying nothing speaks louder than words. Silence sounds simple, but it holds incredible power when used strategically, especially when it comes to making someone miss you. You see, words are often overused, and sometimes the more you say, the less impact your message has. When you learn to embrace silence, you start creating an emotional vacuum. You become someone who isn't easily figured out, and that's attractive. Here's the truth. Constantly talking or texting all the time only pushes people away. But silence? Silence makes her think. It makes her wonder. And when she starts wondering, she starts missing you. You don't always need to fill the silence with words or constant communication. Sometimes, saying nothing is the most powerful thing you can do. It creates an emotional gap that she feels. It's like when someone stops texting you for a while, and suddenly, you're missing their presence more than you thought you would. The key to using silence effectively is understanding timing. Don't disappear out of nowhere or be cold and distant on purpose. It's about being present when you need to be, and then stepping back when it's time. It's about holding your ground, not seeking constant validation, and not always being available. That absence creates value. Let's say you've been texting regularly and everything is going well. But then, for a few days, you stop responding as frequently or take some time to yourself. What happens? She starts feeling your absence. She starts wondering why you're not reaching out like you used to. This doesn't mean you ignore her or play games. It simply means you're taking a step back and letting her miss your presence. By doing so, you make her realize how much she actually enjoys talking to you. This principle also applies in person. When you're with her, don't feel like you always have to fill the silence with chatter. Let moments pass where you're not talking. It adds mystery and makes your time together more meaningful. You don't need to explain everything you're thinking. Let her wonder, and she'll be more attracted to you. Mastering the power of silence is about knowing when to pull back, knowing when to leave her wondering about you, and using that space to let her miss you more than she ever did before. Seven, be unpredictable. Keep her on her toes. Don't be too easy to figure out. Predictability kills attraction. When she knows exactly how you'll act or respond to everything, the excitement fades. The key to keeping her interested is keeping her guessing. Unpredictability is like a magnet that draws her in because she's constantly wondering what's next with you. When you're predictable, you're easy to forget. But when you're unpredictable, you become a challenge, and challenges are exciting. This doesn't mean you should be confusing or erratic. It means you should break away from routines, surprise her, and do things out of the ordinary. For example, if she's used to you always texting first, switch it up. Don't always be available for a conversation. Sometimes, let a day go by without responding. Show her that you're not just waiting around for her attention. Unpredictability also means mixing up your interactions. Don't always be the nice guy who says all the right things at the right time. Sometimes throw in a playful tease, or take the conversation in an unexpected direction. Keep her wondering what you're thinking and make her anticipate what you'll do next. It's about breaking the monotony. If every conversation feels the same, she'll start losing interest. But if one moment you're charming and engaging, and the next you're slightly distant or mysterious, she'll be intrigued. Think about it. The moments in life that stick with you the most are often the ones you didn't expect. When something surprising happens, it catches your attention. People like to be surprised, especially in relationships. When you keep her guessing, you make her emotionally invested because she can't predict your every move. Being unpredictable doesn't mean you're playing games or being inconsistent for the sake of it. It's about creating that mystery and intrigue. So, she wants to know more about you and isn't sure what to expect next. The more she wonders about you, the more likely she'll start to miss you when you're not around. You become the mystery she can't stop thinking about. The trick is not to be too predictable in your behavior, but also not to be so random that it makes her feel insecure or confused. A healthy balance of surprise keeps the attraction strong and keeps her coming back for more. 8. Don't beg for attention. When you stop seeking validation, she'll crave your approval. When you constantly seek attention and validation, you lose your power. It's easy to get caught up in trying to please her, hoping she'll notice you or shower you with compliments. But here's the harsh truth. Begging for attention only makes you seem desperate, and desperation is unattractive. Women are naturally drawn to men who have their own lives, their own goals, and their own confidence. When you chase validation, you're essentially handing over your value to her, hoping she'll confirm it. The key to attracting her is to stop needing her approval. When you're confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, you don't need constant reassurance. It's not about being arrogant or detached, but rather about being self-assured. You don't have to constantly show her that you're worthy of her time or attention. Let her come to that conclusion herself. When you stop begging for attention, something amazing happens. She starts to crave your approval. Why? Because now you've become a man of value. You're not easily available or predictable. You've created space for her to miss you and wonder what you're thinking. In a world where everyone is seeking validation, being the man who doesn't need it stands out. It's like a breath of fresh air. By not constantly seeking attention, you maintain your independence. This makes you more attractive. The more you focus on yourself, your goals, and your passions, the more she will notice how attractive your life is without her. If you always drop everything to be available for her, she'll take it for granted. She knows you're there, and when you're predictable, there's no excitement. But when you stop constantly seeking her validation, You become someone who is hard to get. She starts wondering why you're not always at her beck and call. This curiosity draws her in. When you stop begging for attention, you take back control. You no longer seek approval, and as a result, she'll start craving your approval. It's a natural process. People value what they can't have, and by focusing on yourself and not constantly trying to get her attention, you become the one she desires, rather than someone who is just waiting around for her to notice. 9. Live a full life without her. Show her you don't need her, but you'd want her. Here's the hard truth. You've probably been giving too much of your energy to her, while neglecting your own life. Maybe you've been chasing after her, hoping that she'll notice how much you care. But here's the reality. Women are drawn to men who live a full life, one that doesn't revolve around them. When you make her your entire world, you're basically telling her that you don't have any value without her. And that, my friend, is a huge turnoff. You need to wake up and realize that no woman should feel like the center of your universe. A woman wants to be with a man who has his own passions, his own goals, and a life outside of her. When you show her that you don't need her, but that you'd want her in your life, you start showing your worth. You are a complete person in your own right. A lot of men make the mistake of being overly available, constantly dropping their plans to be with her, and putting their own needs aside just to please her. But this is where you need to wake up. When you live a full life without her, you increase your value. You become someone who doesn't rely on her for happiness. Women are attracted to men who have the ability to live without them, but choose to make space for them. This doesn't mean you push her away or act indifferent. It means you've built a life so fulfilling that when she's in it, it adds something valuable, but doesn't define you. She wants a man who has his own identity, his own drive, and doesn't feel like he needs her to feel complete. When you stop making her the focus of your world and show her that you can live fully without her, she will start to see you differently. You've set boundaries and shown that you are not desperate for her attention. You'll become the kind of man that any woman would want by her side, not because you need her, but because your life is already amazing and she's the cherry on top. If you've been losing yourself in her, it's time to stop. Wake up, start focusing on your own life, and she'll begin to notice how much more attractive you become when you're living for yourself, not just for her. 10. Don't be afraid to walk away. When you're not afraid to lose her, she'll want to keep you. Here's the cold, hard truth. The moment you stop fearing losing her, she starts fearing losing you. Too many men stay in relationships, even when they're not getting what they deserve, simply because they're scared of losing her. The irony? The more you fear losing her, the more likely it is that she'll lose interest. Women are attracted to men who are confident in their worth, men who know that they don't need her, but want her. If you're always available, constantly chasing, and afraid to walk away, you're essentially telling her that you'll tolerate anything to keep her around. And that's not attractive. You need to have the courage to walk away if things aren't working. It's a powerful stance. It says, I'm a man with standards, and I won't settle for less than what I deserve. Here's why this works. When you show her that you're not afraid to walk away, you signal to her that you have self-respect. You're not willing to be treated poorly just to keep her around. This creates a sense of fear in her. Fear of losing someone who isn't willing to stick around for bad treatment. The moment she senses that you won't beg for her attention or stay in a situation where you're not being valued, she'll start to view you as more desirable. It's simple. You need to value yourself first. Stop thinking that the relationship or her affection is the most important thing. Focus on your own life, your own growth, and your own happiness. When you do that, you won't be afraid to walk away if she doesn't meet your standards. You're a man with a full life and high standards, and no one, not even her, can change that. If you're constantly settling for less, You're teaching her that it's okay to treat you however she likes. But when you're willing to walk away, you're teaching her that you're not afraid to stand up for yourself, and you won't tolerate disrespect or indifference. Stop living in fear of losing her. Walk away when necessary, and watch how quickly she starts valuing you more. It's not about manipulation, it's about recognizing your worth and acting accordingly. When you stop fearing the loss of her, she'll begin to fear losing you. Here's the harsh reality. If you're constantly chasing her, you're losing. You may think that by giving her all your attention, love, and energy, she'll see your worth. But the truth is, you're teaching her that you don't have boundaries, that you'll always be there to serve her needs. And that's not attractive. She will never respect you the way you want her to if you're always putting her above your own life. I know this might sting, but it's the truth. You're not the only option she has, and you shouldn't act like you are. She needs to feel like you don't need her to value you. And when you stop fearing her walking away, that's when she'll start to fear losing you. I want to hear from you. Have you ever found yourself in a position where you were chasing her and saw things slipping away? How did you handle it? Drop your experiences in the comments, and I'll personally reach out. Let's talk about this, connect, and see how we can all level up in our relationships. You don't have to settle for being the man she only calls when she's bored. Let's break these patterns together.